Good evening, Agnes Cherola from the UK.
Good evening, Archbishop Dare. Good evening, everybody. How are you?
It is not marvelous that I'm seeing you live from UK to our studio in Kenya.
Very wonderful, man of God, and I'm so grateful to be on this air and talking to people about Christ, about this wonderful.
You are a
Tomorrow we go.
woman in history. I know you come from the chieftaincy in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So tell us, you are a royal family.
Yes, a very big one called Gutu. It's on the map. It's a very large royal family, and I am born in the chieftaincy, and but my mother is from the pastor. Their parents were pastors, but my dad is chieftaincy, and it runs in the family for years. When I came to Gilbert Dare Ministry, I came with the things that were crawling in my body, and I could not know where to go to, and because those things are unseen.
Let us talk about your king, your royal. Then you go to that. You came to England when you were born again in a church in Africa.
Yeah, yes, I came with 13 pastors when I was coming here. We were coming for what is called camp meeting.
Camp meeting of a church from Zimbabwe to UK.
Yes.
And by that time, you were born again in a church in Zimbabwe?
Yes, I was born again 1997.
1997. And when did you come to the UK?
2000.
2000. And Agnes, in the UK, how did you come to know our ministry? Gilbert Dare Ministry in London?
Yes, I saw you on TV, Bishop, and you were preaching. And when I saw you on TV preaching, my daughter was at work that day. When she came from work, I told her that I saw a man of God who is preaching the very powerful word of God, and he speaks the truth. So my daughter, I gave her your channel. She watched your channel. So that day also I went for night shift. So when I came back, my daughter told me that you prayed that day, but it was an old video that was coming out. But then you said anyone who is watching you must touch where they are feeling pain. And then my daughter touched her chest. She was always feeling something is like a needle on her chest. So when she touched like that, she started going to the toilet. And then when she was relating to me, she was sitting on the corner of my bed when I came for night shift. And she started to tell me, oh, she's feeling to go to the toilet again. And she ran to the toilet. So after finishing the toilet, she flushed. When she flushed the toilet, I don't know what made her to look in the toilet. The water was white, but she saw a needle that was flashing in the toilet.
Agnes, this is something that is unbelievable. That you are in the house in UK, I think it was Reading.
No, Slough.
Slough. You are living in Slough,
Yes.
and you happen to watch DBN in Slough. Then you introduce the TV to your daughter.
Yes.
And in your absence, I was playing a video on my prayer, and that video healed your daughter.
Very powerful.
She went to the toilet and she pulled the needles.
Yes.
And when she looked at them before she found a needle, and that shocked her, and she was impressed to find what happened with her with the only watching the television broadcast.
Yes, and then that made us to come to your church.
Then you and her decided to come to Homeside Street in Old Control where we have a service.
Yes.
Tell me what happened the first day you people came.
The first day, Bishop, we are asking as if you know. I don't know whether you can remember. The first day we came, you were not there. It was a Wednesday, and it was one pastor called Pastor Susie who was preaching. So we were talking to each other. We were saying, oh, it's not Archbishop Dare we saw, because by those days there used to be so many pastors preaching and so many services. So it was 7 p.m. service, middle week. So the minute the Pastor Sus came on altar, she just said, "Everybody, raise up your hands," and we raised our we raised our hands like this. Before I know, I just heard the chairs going. Quack, 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 quack. And
People are falling on the chairs.
My daughter was on the floor. Yes,
Your
my daughter
daughter
was just falling. These were chairs, but she just fell nicely. But because there were so many chairs behind her, but she just fell so nicely. Because I asked her when we were at the bus stop to say, "What made you to fall down? Why did you fall down?" I asked her, "Why?" And then she said, "Did she fall down?" She was actually asking me. And I said, "Yes, you did." And she said, "No, she didn't fall down." I said, "So what happened?" She said, "When the pastor said, 'Lift up your hands,' the minute she lifted up her hands, she saw herself floating in oil, only oil, and she tried to touch, and she just slipped."
Was that Pastor James or Pastor who?
Pastor Susie.
Pastor?
Pastor Susie.
Or Pastor Susie? The
Yes.
deceased Susie.
Yes.
Yeah, Susie was really a powerful woman of God. And you found your daughter when you people were praying, your daughter went on the floor and she could not understand what happened.
Yeah, I asked her, I said to her, "Oh, you fall," because I was asking her, "Now, why did you fall down?" And she spent 2 hours on the floor. She was just like a pumpkin on the floor, not even moving. Then she said, "No, she didn't fall." I said, "You fall." So we were like arguing. I said, "You fall down?" Because the chairs went crack, 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 crack. And then she said, "No, I didn't fall." I said, "What happened?" She said, when they said, "Lift up your hands," she found herself floating in oil. And then she slipped.
And she stayed on the floor for 2 hours.
For 2 hours, yes.
And from that day, you discovered that there was a God in this place. Though you saw me on television, you came for me. And you get a lady, Pastor Susie, and that is what people start seeing the power of God in that building.
Yes.
I've noted that since then you have never gone out to another church. You have been very effective.